Hello there. Howdy, howdy, everybody. It's Bonnie Giller here, and we are here for our Intuitive Eating Wednesday live training. Every Wednesday is Intuitive Eating Wednesday here in my world, and every Wednesday you get an email about intuitive eating, a link to my blog for the week, and of course, we go live to dig deeper into the topic of the week. So I'm just going to make sure I am live in all the places that I'm looking to be live in. We've got my Facebook business page and my Facebook group and YouTube. So hi to everybody who's out there. When you come in, please come and say hello. I love when you're here with me as I'm talking and as I'm really reviewing some important topics. To help you create a healthier relationship with food and, of course, your body. So when you come in, come say hello. You know me already. I like to communicate and interact back and forth with you. So go ahead and put a comment. If you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, go ahead and put a comment to let me know that you're here. Make sure you click the link to give StreamYard permission to show your name. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user or YouTube user. So, all right, let's dig into today's topic. And it's all about distraction when we're eating. So let's just start with a question. Are you distracted when you eat? A distraction, and we're going to dig into what type of distractions I'm really talking about. But are you present with your meal? Fully present? In today's society, it is really hard sometimes to not be distracted because there are distractions all around us. It's really the norm. So it could look like work emails that you need to check. It could be phone calls that are coming in while you're eating. It could be you scrolling through social media or maybe even watching a TV show while you're eating. Whether you want to think of those things as a distraction or not, they are in fact distractions. So let's go into specific circumstances. Do any of these resonate with you? Do they sound familiar to you? Number one, you're rushing in the morning, and so you grab breakfast as you run out the door and you're eating your breakfast in the car on your way to work or your errands or whatever you need to do. Are you eating lunch when you are at your cubicle at work or while you're at your desk, even though you're not officially working, but you're still eating at your desk and you hear the pings coming in with your emails and you glance who's sending me an email, what's going on, or someone knocks on your door. Hey, I need you to sign these papers. Are you sitting with your food and your meal, but you're scrolling through your phone to see who posted what on Facebook, on Instagram, right? And by the way, this could be a meal. It could be a snack. Do you sit to dinner and just automatically put the TV on and watch the news or Jeopardy or something like that, right? So do any of those circumstances resonate with you? If not those particular circumstances, I want you to take a moment to think about what type of distractions do you generally have within when you're eating? Okay, so those are some examples. They are prime examples of what we call distracted eating. Now, I myself have fallen into this trap. I'm going to share a story with you because this is a story I'm actually telling now for, let's say, my son is 34. So for about 34 years, I'm actually telling the story. And it's something that made such a difference and an impact in my life. So all those years ago, I was newly married. I had one baby boy at the time. He was an infant. And I was back in school in the evenings to get my master's degree in nutrition. And there was one night in particular, I'll never forget this. I was eating an early dinner because I had class that night and the baby was in his crib sleeping. Now, if you are with me now on this live and you are a client of mine, you probably heard the story. So bear with me. But if not, so what happened was I was eating dinner. The baby was in the crib and I was watching TV while I was eating. The show ended. And I looked in my plate and my baked potato was gone. And I was like, oh my God, where's my baked potato? Like, I really don't remember eating this potato. And what happened in that moment was I wanted another potato. I really said, like, I feel really cheated. I feel really like I don't have satisfaction because I didn't eat my potato, but obviously I really did eat the potato because the baby didn't. And I was like, I want another potato. Now I had prepared dinner for my husband for when he got home from work. So there was a potato ready for him, but I wasn't going to eat his potato. So that was it. And I remember sitting at the table in that moment, and I said, okay, I'm in school for nutrition, and one day I'm going to have a private practice, and I'm going to teach clients to be mindful with their eating, and I'm going to tell this story. And I've been telling this story ever since. And it really, in that moment, I vowed to myself, I will not eat and be distracted by watching TV ever again. And I don't. At least I try my best not to, especially if I'm alone. We'll talk more about that in just a second. So, do you have any instances that you can remember? If you think back, that when you were distracted and then you looked at your plate and it was empty, or what you were really looking forward to wasn't there, and you're like, whoa, where's that food, right? Let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to hear. So, let's just actually step back for a minute and define. I like to do definitions. So let's define distracted eating. So distracted eating is the intentional consumption of a meal while engaged in a secondary activity to the extent that the significance or memory of that meal is diminished or completely forgotten. So let me repeat that. The intentional consumption of a meal while engaged in a secondary activity to the extent that the significance or the memory of the meal is diminished or forgotten completely. That is the definition of distracted eating. So with the hustle and the bustle and the fast-paced environment that many of us live in, taking time to sit down and properly enjoy a meal is often thrown to the wayside. Now, in our society, we really praise busyness. The hustle culture, right? Being productive at all hours of the day, no matter what. So even when people seem to have time in their routines to sit down to a proper meal, the distractions seem to still pop up, whether again, it's through Instagram, it's Facebook, watching TV, and so forth. So please share with me what distractions show up for you during meals. Let's start with that. Pop it in the comments. Let's kind of see what are some of the experiences that you have with distraction during mealtime. So let's take a look, while you're doing that, let's take a look at what the studies show us. Many studies have looked at the impact of eating while distracted. And here's the concluding results. Those who eat distracted are more likely to eat faster and more food than they've intended to eat, can't remember what or how much they ate. They end up snacking on more foods later on, or they plate more food than they would usually eat, and they feel significantly less full at the end of a meal. So think about that. You're eating a meal, you're not paying attention, you don't remember eating it, and you have less satisfaction. These kinds of results make total sense if you think about it, because along with your hunger and your fullness cues, attention and memory play a role in your eating experience. Your memory of what you ate and how much you ate will likely, we know this, be impacted if you're eating while you're distracted. And this usually results in eating more at your next meal or snacking in between because you have left your previous meal unsatisfied. So I'm really interested in your experiences. If you have eaten distracted and you're thinking about that right now, do you remember leaving that meal unsatisfied? And do you remember then looking for more food, being on the prowl, even though your belly is no longer hungry, but your mind is hungry, right? Because you missed that satisfaction. So although eating while distracted could mean that you will eat more than your body needs in that moment and you'll feel less satisfied after the meal, it's taking away from the enjoyment and the pleasure that the eating experience usually brings. Remember, eating not only is supposed to fuel us, but it's also supposed to bring us pleasure. Like, that's okay. We do not need to feel guilt if we have pleasure in our meals, right? A chronic dieter typically feels guilty if they walk away from a meal having like, wow, that was a really good meal. That was yummy, delicious, and their pleasure is like off the charts on that meal. Oftentimes guilt is associated with that. Not necessary. it's really time that we take a deep look at the distractions and figure out how we can focus on the meal that is right in front of us, right? And I work with my clients all the time on this. And I know this is the most difficult thing to do. It's just, I mean, sitting and just eating without any distraction, it's a little weird at first, especially if you're not used to doing it. If you have that experience, please share in the comments and let me know. And I know that sometimes it's not practical either, right? And I'm not saying we have to do it all the time. It's about taking baby steps in that direction. And that's really important. On this whole journey, it's all about taking baby steps, right? And this is exactly where mindfulness comes into play. So, have you engaged? Do you engage? Let's just start with mindful living. Do you engage in mindful living? So, if you do, how do you do that? How does mindfulness present itself to you in your everyday life? I'd love to know. Please share in the comments, okay? If you're just joining me now, we're already almost 15 minutes into the session. We've been talking about distracted eating. We've been talking about what the studies show on distracted eating and also what are some of the distractions. So again, give thought. What are the distractions that you have while you're eating? Do you have any examples of eating when you're distracted and you don't even remember that you ate something? Like I gave you my story, my baked potato story, right? Okay. Here's another example, another story I could share with you. This goes back just a couple of years, not as long back as my baked potato story, but a couple of years. We went to Bagel Boss for lunch with the family. That's locally one of the bagel stores here. And they have a really nice sitting room in the back. Now that it's still the pandemic, they actually closed that off, but it's a really nice sitting room. And we ordered food. We took it. We went to the back, found a table with the kids. My kids were younger at the time. And they had this big TV over there in the corner. Actually, I'm now remembering, the only table available was right under the TV. And it was on, it was loud. I don't know what was playing, but I remember saying to my husband, oh my gosh, I can't eat like this. I'm too distracted. The TV is distracting me from my food. We waited for another table to empty. We moved away from the TV, but it was still very distracting. Even today, if I sit down to dinner with my husband and he has the TV on or he puts the sports on, I say, I'm not eating. I'm not eating with you. Finish your meal or I'll eat later or something, because it just takes away from the enjoyment. So I really want to hear your experiences. Actually, my husband knows already that we can't watch TV while we're eating because then he won't ever eat dinner with me. So he's kind of gotten better at that. So let me hear your experiences. So when we want to, even though distracted eating might be a habit, we want to really start to take baby steps to minimize the distractions. So that's where this mindfulness piece comes in, right? So mindful eating is one of those ways we can be much more aware. You've heard of mindful eating before. This is not a new concept for you, but mindful eating has everything to do with being patient, being present, and enjoying your meal. So let's just take a closer look at that, right? When we're looking at this concept of mindful eating, it takes into consideration the not the actual what you're eating, but the how of what you're eating, right? It's about, are you eating slowly? Are you savoring every bite? Are you paying full attention and appreciation to the food, right? Are you eating for energy, to satisfy hunger? Are you eating to satisfy a craving? Is this meal in front of you satisfying you? Is it fulfilling the current needs that you have? Right? Are you eating what your body is asking you for, or are you ignoring the signals? Again, because you're distracted by something. These are some questions that you can answer, that you can ask yourself to really help your body stay out of autopilot. Because if you think about it, when we eat with distraction, oftentimes it's just autopilot, like my baked potato story. If you came on late, you'll go back to the beginning and listen to my baked potato story. Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. If you click the link at the top of the post, it'll allow you to say who you are. If you want to share with me who is the Facebook user, because your comment is only coming in as Facebook user. I eat alone, sitting in front of YouTube, totally distracted. I think the combination of the YouTube helps my brain mellow out after work. So So you're saying the combination of eating and YouTube helps you mellow out? It sounds like maybe what your need is, like, what is it that you need? Well, first question for you to think about and to ponder is when you're eating in front of YouTube and watching the YouTube distracted from your meal, are you really getting the full appreciation? Are you really getting satisfied? Are you really being able to tune into your hunger and your fullness and allow them to guide your eating? Again, most likely not, as what I mentioned earlier in terms of what the studies are showing. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, it sounds like maybe what you need to, when you come in after work, is to take a little self-care time, is to, as you say, mellow out after work. I get it. You know, work can be really stressful and it's tiring, and you come in after a day's work, maybe sitting for 15 minutes, closing your eyes, putting on soft music, doing some act of self-care can help you transition from work to that home life, where now you'll then sit down and try to eat that meal not distracted. And by the way, it does take practice and it does take time. All I ask you is to start to pay attention to how it's impacting your eating, how it's impacting how much you're eating, your appreciation for your meal, the satisfaction and the pleasure. So mindful eating really allows you to appreciate every aspect of food or that meal that you're eating. A common mindful eating technique is to use your 5 senses when sitting down for a meal. So that would be sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. So, for example, sight, like, what does your plate look like? Really looking at the food on your plate. What does it look like? What are the colors? Look at the variety. Have that appreciation for it. What does it smell like? You know, give a little sniff to the aroma of the food, right? That's the smell, because that also can help you with your appreciation. What is the texture? So as you're eating the food, what is the texture and the flavor? What does it feel like? Is the food hot or cold? Are you enjoying the temperature? Are you hearing anything when you're eating, right? Are you hearing crunch, crunch, crunch? How do you like that, right? So as mentioned before, answering these kinds of questions and exploring keeps you very present within the meal. So I know, like, people say not eating, you know, just eating and eating is boring, you know, but it doesn't have to be when you really engage like this with your meal. So avoiding all distractions, focusing on the aspects of the meal and the food right in front of you, and engaging in this mindfulness not only helps you prevent you from eating beyond comfortable fullness, but it also allows you to stay in tune with your hunger signals and your fullness signals, which really also make the eating experience a whole lot more enjoyable. I mean, why? Like, why is that? Well, because you're listening to your body, right? And because you're listening to your body, you will leave that meal feeling satisfied, having great pleasure, comfortably full, not over full, right? And not uncomfortable. And many times when we're eating distracted, we leave the meal feeling in an uncomfortable state. So I want to hear about your experiences. Please share with me your experiences of this. So, okay, so let's go deeper. So, okay, Bonnie, mindfulness. I hear about it all the time. Mindfulness in living, mindfulness in eating. So besides the obvious that I've just stated about not eating till over full and really having more enjoyment, what are some of the other reasons? Well, let's talk about some of those reasons that you may not expect. I'm just going to take a quick drink, but if you can, put a comment. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on what I'm saying. It's very helpful for me to get feedback from you and to be able to communicate during these trainings. Okay, so let's talk about some of those. Let's talk about some of those other benefits to this. Number one, you will taste more. So with mindfulness practices, all of your senses are on high alert. It's really amazing. When you eat mindlessly, you don't think of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're eating mindlessly and distracted, you're not thinking about texture. You're not thinking about aroma. You're not thinking about temperature of food. You're really not thinking of anything related to the food. It's just, okay, let me eat until the plate is done. Let me eat until I'm finish the package or whatever it is, because you're focused so much on what you're doing, TV, scrolling through social media, etc. But with mindfulness, it really becomes a habit to check in on all aspects of the food and yourself. And that is a very big benefit. Okay, number 2, another benefit to doing this is you will be more satisfied with your food choices, right? Similar to the previous reasons, with mindfulness, you're constantly observing and reflecting. Like, reflection is very important on this intuitive eating journey. So you are observing, you're reflecting on the food you're eating, you're reflecting on your eating experiences, and with continued practice comes that feeling of satisfaction that we're all after when we're eating a meal, right? We eat because we want to be satisfied, right? So you're much more likely to be satisfied at the end of your meal because you took into consideration all aspects of that meal versus just, scarfing down the sandwich as fast as you can without a second thought. Okay, number 3, another benefit is you will really be tuned in to what you like and don't like. When you're eating distracted, you're not engaging with the food. And so you're really not even, you don't even think about, do I really like this or not? Like, am I eating it just because it's here and it's convenient or not? Rain, I see your question. I'll get to you in just a moment. So when you utilize some mindfulness practices, you'd be surprised to find out that, number 1, you may like more foods than you think you did, or you may not like things you think that you did, right? So what your least favorite foods were, maybe they're becoming your favorite, right? Or vice versa. It's really great because you really, really figure out and tune into what do I really like and what I don't like, because you're paying that much more attention. Okay, Rain, let me see what your common question is. By the way, Rain, I think you posted a question in the Facebook group the other day, which I responded to. So make sure you go back and look at that. Do you think it would be helpful to hold off eating until you feel like you can be fully present with the food, even when you're still learning how to be more present and not just eating while in emotion mode? So there's a lot to that question. Let me read it again and break it down with you. Do you think it would be helpful to hold off eating until you feel like you can be fully present with the food? What prevents you from being present with the food in that moment? That's the first question I would ask you, Rain. Even when you're still learning how to be more present. So you're learning how to be more present with the food, okay? And not just eating while in emotion mode. Okay, so there's a few things to that. Learning how to be more present with the food and be more mindful is a process. That's going to be slow, one step at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time, one meal at a time. So that is a continued practice that you will continue to learn. If you are truly hungry, it sounds to me, Rain, so let me know if I'm on the right path here. It sounds to me like that maybe there's some emotional eating going on, that you are reaching for food more from an emotional standpoint, an emotional trigger versus biological. So the first thing would be, number 1, you need to distinguish between emotional hunger. Rain says yes, 100%. All right. You need to distinguish between emotional hunger and physical hunger, right? Biological hunger. That's very important. Once you're able to do that, then you know how to take care of yourself. Then you know, if it's an emotional hunger, how do I take the best care of myself and my emotions and what I need? If it's a physical hunger or biological hunger, I also know how to handle that biological need. If you truly feel biological hunger, we want to honor that hunger. We don't want to wait. Now, we're not looking for perfection. I always say there's no perfection in intuitive eating. So we are not looking for perfection at all. So that when you are working towards really creating a healthier relationship with food, there are going to be times where, you know what? I know that I'm physically hungry right now, but I don't have the time to actually sit and have a very long extended meal to appreciate the taste, the texture, and everything that I'm just talking about. And that's okay. It's not about perfection, okay? So, Rain, I would really recommend for you to first try to learn the difference and to distinguish between emotional hunger and biological hunger, and then learn how to care for each of those. And I know that's a big ask, but I think that's important. And in the interim, when you do sit down to eat a meal, make that commitment to yourself to try to be more present with the food. If you need help, please reach out to me. Okay. You can DM me, you can email me, we can hop on the phone if you want a quick call, and I can share some resources with you. But you're doing a great job. You're here, you're showing up, you're in the Facebook group, and it really ultimately, you can do this. And I know that you can, as tough sometimes as it might be, whether it be just the whole concept of learning how to be an intuitive eater again, or, or just working on certain little aspects. Rain says, got it. Thanks. Very helpful. Awesome. So so everybody who's here and everybody listening on replay, give thought to everything I've discussed so far in this session. And how will you practice mindfulness at your next meal? Put it in the comments. Let's make a commitment. Let's set accountability. And then come to the Facebook group, or if you're on YouTube with me now, post it in the comments on YouTube. What is your commitment to yourself to practice mindfulness at your next meal? I would love to hear about it. So this is a very hot topic. It comes up all the time with my clients, all the time in my programs and courses, because it's so easy. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. I love when I get thumbs up, and I also love hearts. Anyway, it's so important, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult because we live, like I said, in a culture that actually rewards busyness and multitasking. And honestly, that really works against us. So if you have any questions, please post it in the comments. If you're listening on replay, come post your comments. Thank you for the heart. It's a very, very important topic. Share this video with your friends, whomever you know that might need this advice as well. So if you don't have any final questions here today, Rain, you're good? Love your name, by the way. Then that's it for today's session. Let me make a few announcements. Number one, every Wednesday, 12:15 Eastern, in the Facebook group on YouTube and on Instagram, but today I couldn't go live on Instagram because of tech difficulties, we will have a live training. If you have a topic that you would like me to talk about, then post it below this video, or post it in the news feed on Facebook, or DM me and I'll add it to the list. In addition to that, if you are interested in a little more step-by-step process to help you incorporate intuitive eating into your life, then check out my Intuitive Eating Basics course. It's a self-paced course, but there is a community forum that can help you with it. intuitiveeatingbasics.com. You will be very happy with, just learning how to dip your toes into that course. And it's going to be available all the time now. I originally only had it available for a short period of time, but I've now had feedback from people that it's very helpful for them. And go ahead and check it out. intuitiveeatingbasics.com, self-paced course with a community forum. And I'm going to be in there to answer questions as well. Okay. All right. So I don't know. That's it. Do you have any other questions? Anybody have any questions? If not, then I will see you next week, same time. Remember, every weekday in the Facebook group, there are threads, posts that I put in just to get you thinking, to keep you going on the journey. So set it as a reminder for yourself to check the Facebook group every single day. Also, if you haven't followed me, hey, Irene. Oh, good to see you. Irene actually took the Intuitive Eating Basics course. So if you're interested in learning about Intuitive Eating Basics, Irene took the course. She's actually going through it now. And so there's great women in that forum. So, take a look at that course. So anyways, my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet looked at my YouTube channel or followed my channel, I have a ton of videos there going back years. So you could spend quite a bit of time watching my videos. And I'm committed to growing my YouTube channel. I will be creating many more videos. So go ahead to YouTube and just search my name, Bonnie Giller or Bonnie R. Giller, and I will, and you'll start to see videos there. So that should help you on your journey as well. All right, girls, that's it for today. I'm off to, my hunger signals are saying that I am hungry and I'm going to go eat some lunch. So enjoy the rest of your day. Come and, oh, Irene says not eating while multitasking. Awesome. Right. So that's what we're doing. That's our goal. That's our goal for everybody today. Okay. All right, ladies, I'll see you next time.